Hello, everybody. Today I'll be talking about why complaining is holding you back from success. Hello. Okay. All right, cool. And my name is Mitchell. And if that sounds like that's something that relates to you, please hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. But for people that are new over here, my name is Mitchell, and I am a life and relationship coach. I'm here to help you optimize your life. And so today's an express episode, meaning that it's about 30 minutes long, roughly, more or less. And this is an episode that I've done before. I've just kind of taken a few of my most highlighted ones, the highlights of the episode that I've done before. What's up, Bree? And I'm just going to be talking about some of the main points today that resonate with me. And I always like to do a recap episode speaking about today's recap episode is recentering yourself is a strength. Is this I'm assuming that's Tammy. What's up? All right, so recentering yourself is a strength. The recap slide is on weak men blame others. Okay, and if you are, hey, from LA, what's up, Crystal? And if you are if you are interested in watching that episode, I've done that episode back in September 30th of last year, so it was last year's episode. But recentering yourself is a strength because it's an ability to take a step back and acknowledge that, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not feeling the best right now, so let me take a step back and recenter myself so that I don't lose my shit. You know what I mean? Now, let's start out with a quote by Don Shula, which says that the superior man blames himself, the inferior man blames others. And the reason why I like to talk about this today is because there is a specific group of people out there that just blames people. And more specifically is that these group of people, they like to blame women. And they talk about how this is how women's true nature, that there's it's all women are like this. And they make excuses such as like 20% of men get 80% of the women in dating apps. And it's like, even the average looking ones, this is like my second time on your YouTube live. Well, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going as you enjoying your meal right now. All right. So what else? They say a woman controls sex, and to some degree, yes, they do. But it doesn't mean that men can't control themselves. It means that, hey, you know what? We have the ability as a guy to improve ourselves so that we could be the most irresistible option out there. Am I right? And so, yeah, maybe we don't get all the girls that we want, but life isn't about getting anything that you want. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as fun to live anyways. So now, on the flip side of the coin, women do like strong men. They like leaders. They like men that are leaders. They like someone that can provide and protect. So a lot of men out there needs to basically man up, in other words, and it's stop complaining, stop coping. So a lot of men out there, they just need to man up and be the man that the women want them to be. And so let's move on and let's talk about the meat of the topic, which is, why complaining is holding you back from success. But let's talk about the brain first, right? The brain. So they did a study back in 1996, a Stanford study, which found that complaining for about 30 minutes a day or more can damage your hippocampus somewhere in the brain. The study also found that link between long-term exposure to stress and the shrinking of the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that is involved with problem solving, learning, emotions, and forming new memories. So you're more likely to be more stressed as you continue to complain. Moving on, why complaining is not beneficial. Now, there are some benefits to complaining, but if you're a chronic complainer, it's not going to be beneficial. So why complaining is not beneficial? So number one is that it rewires your brain rewires your brain for negativity. So complaining can create a cycle of negative thoughts that can rewire the brain to make it easier to complain in the future. And so, which is why I don't know about you guys, but whenever I hear people that's constantly complaining and they're not really trying to find a solution for themselves, then it's like, okay, even myself, I like to take a step back. I take a step back and be like, whoa, okay. And also, yeah, and I'm human, okay? And so there are days where days are a little bit more rough than others, and there are times where I would like to express myself, and I usually do that with a good friend. And sometimes maybe your friend might not be available, and so you try to maybe possibly vent to another person. And what I found out was that as I am thinking that, hey, maybe this other person is who is also my good friend, which I'm trying to share some of my thoughts to, even though they might be your good friend, it doesn't mean that they are good listeners too as well. Because there are some people where you think they're good friends. It's like it's different. Where different people, some people will tolerate what they would consider you complaining or a healthy complainer, and some people might just think that you're just complaining just so that you could be heard. And so today I would like to talk about someone that's a healthy complainer versus someone that's an unhealthy complainer. Okay. But anyways, let's continue on with this whole rewiring of the brain, right? Where complaining can create this cycle of negative thoughts, which makes it easier. Just like anything that you do, the more you do it, the easier it becomes a habit. And all you need to do is something twice to start a habit. So this could lead to a more pessimistic outlook in life. Basically, that's very difficult to change because that's how your brain operates. And so our brain is designed to be efficient. And it's not designed to work harder than it should. So be careful if you are around someone that complains, or you might be that person that constantly complains. Because like I said, our brain is designed to survive and work as efficiently as possible. And if your brain isn't working efficiently, well, guess what? It's saying to itself like, wow, why am I working harder than I should? And so in terms of survival, our brain is up to the quickest way to connect basically our neurons, the brain that connects, so that it doesn't need to work harder than it should. So because you're complaining more, not only does it cause you to complain more in the future, it also causes your brain to reduce its ability to solve problems or problem solving. So be careful with that. All right. And it leads to this whole downward spiral. As if you haven't noticed already, it's a downward spiral. Now basically you're stuck in this whole negativity loop. Complaining becomes your default, which changes how people perceive you, and it's normal to you because it's what you always been used to doing. And on top of that, it increases something in your body. It increases your cortisol level, which is your fight or flight chemical reaction in your body, which basically whenever your body encounters danger, it's like, oh my god, I need to fight or I need to leave, right? And it's essential for survival. However, if you're constantly having high levels of cortisol, means that your body is constantly having this high blood pressure, high blood sugar, weakens your body's immune system. That is because it's in constant stress. Your body's not used to this whole constant stress, which decreases the body's what they call lymphocytes, or aka your white blood cells, which is to help fight off infections in your body. So healthy people, I want to talk about healthy complainers and people who just chronically complain. Where healthy complainers, these are people that usually just needs an ear. I said air, but ear. They complain, but these healthy people, when they complain, they need empathy. Whereas chronic complainers, they need boundaries. They need a certain set of structure, because that is why they are constantly complaining. They don't find a solution. So that structure or that boundary that they need is, hey, you know what? It's okay to talk about certain things, but eventually I need to find a solution, because otherwise I'm going to find myself back into the same situation again. And guess what? I'm going to be complaining. And so it gets tiring after a while. Now, being around somebody like that, I understand it's mentally and emotionally draining, and it's a waste of your time to some degree. And so with these chronic complainers, your empathy doesn't really go anywhere. And they think, and this is kind of like the worst part too, they think, or they almost feel like they're entitled to this, to have compassion, or that you should feel bad for them, and basically they kind of just suck the energy out of you, and they don't really give anything back out. And chronic complainers are in pain. You have to understand that these are certain people that complain because they are hurt, and because they are hurt, their pain, just because they are hurt and you're trying to find a way to solve their problems, but by listening to them, empathizing, you're actually not helping them. These are the type of people that one of the best things that you can do is ask them, hey, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Bob, right? I'm just using Bob as an example. Hey, Bob, I've heard you talk about this before. I've heard you talk about it for about a year now, or however long, you guys. And what are you going to do about it? And because the reason why you want to ask that type of question is because then you will get an answer. And whether or not that answer is to your liking, basically they're like, well, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that. And then you see if they could align their words with action. And if they don't, because you could always bottom line someone's action. A lot of people could lie. They could say, oh, I should do this, but they don't do it. A lot of people want to start lifting weights and eating healthier and, becoming more physically fit, or for whatever reasons that they have. A lot of people want it. Not a lot of people are willing to do it. Not a lot of people are willing to put in the effort in themselves, the discipline to wake up every single day, or maybe go there every single day after work. It's basically having that discipline. So basically, in other words, with these chronic complainers, you want to see if they are willing to solve their own problems by thinking about it, by asking them the question. And the great thing about that is it kind of puts the ball back in their court. And then you get to see whether or not they are willing to help themselves. So, and chances are, we'll see whether or not they change, right? But most of the time, these chronic complainers, they're not really looking for a solution. They're looking for, they actually feel like they need to hold on to this problem a lot more, so that they feel like they have this sense of release, which is an illusion, because they're like, well, I complained, but I didn't do anything, but I felt like I did. So when the problem comes back up, I just need to talk about it to somebody else and I'll be all right. And it's like, no, that doesn't solve anything. And, if you're watching this, I hope it's not you. I hope you're not on the receiving end of this chronic complainer that just needs your energy so that they can feed off of, right? Now, I like to talk about the difference between venting and complaining, though, right? Now, as a kid, especially when you're, I don't know, like 5 years old, right? If you're 5, your emotion basically runs your entire life. So you're not really able to control your emotions. And part of being an adult is to really contain your emotions. And I'll tell you a little story about what happened earlier too. So if you're 40, 50, 60 years old or whatever, and you lack emotional self-control, what would other people call you? People will call you immature, right? And we see that all the time. I just saw a video of this one guy at a matcha green tea store, and he started throwing things. I don't know, it's on TikTok, and he was throwing things at like the workers, and it didn't end well, and it just looked bad. And so, yeah, these are people that lack emotional self-control. Now, I'm talking about complaining though, okay? So people that they're containing their feelings, it's not the same as suppressing them. There's a difference. There's a difference between containing your feelings versus suppressing them. Containing means that you have clear boundaries. Basically, you're also not losing your shit neither. So you can tend to your emotions more constructively. So when you're containing, venting is contained. Venting is contained, which means it has a beginning and an end. Venting is done in a contained space. And you have to be smart enough to detect, excuse me, whether or not that person is venting because they're a healthy complainer versus, and these are the people that needs empathy, versus an unhealthy complainer that just, the last thing you need to give them is empathy, because it's feeding into this idea of, damn, like, I help them, I could just continue to do that over and over and over until my day ends, basically. And they're gonna, somehow, some way, it's like you have to be able to step away from it. And one thing that I would suggest, if you have someone in your life that's constantly complaining over and over and over, you have to let them know. And especially if you love them and you care about them, you have to let them know. So I had a friend, and he complained constantly, all the time. And one day I just had to let him know. I was like, hey, look, I love you, man. I care about you, but all you do is complain. I haven't really heard anything about any type of change. And it's not only emotionally draining for me, it's like, I want to help you, but you're not even willing to help yourself. So I have to back away from this, basically. And I hope that you understand why I need to back away. It's because I need to protect myself. And it's not saying like, oh, Mitchell's being selfish, but it's more like, well, there's clearly, it's not something that I could offer. It's more than what I can give right now, because it's been a very long time. And so I hope you understand that. And then let them decide on whether or not that bounces them back up. Either they learn to be better, or they could become bitter, right? And so you're giving them this opportunity to either live or to win in this situation, or they learn from this situation. And so people that are venting in a more contained space, it is a little bit better. It's a little bit better. But the main thing is your venting going to lead to a solution? So be careful with that. Let's see. Yeah, let's talk about this really quick. So, fussing about one thorn among the roses, right? And, you know, with Jim Rohn, that quote, every day stand guard at the door of your mind, what you focus on expands. And so the law of attraction is the idea that positive thoughts and actions lead to positive outcomes, while negative thoughts and action leads to negative outcomes. So complaining doesn't just affect us, it affects the people around us. And people tend to mirror our moods around us. And so, solution to complaining, if you're the person that finds yourself constantly complaining, the best way you could deal with constant complaining or negativity is developing this sense of gratitude for yourself. By practicing gratitude, this is what I found too, which is practicing gratitude reduces your cortisol level by 23%. I don't know how accurate that is, but I could tell that makes a big difference when I practice gratitude myself, even if I'm not complaining all the time. Complaining steals our mental bandwidth. Basically, our brain's attentional resource, or basically your capacity of how much you can hold. So while you might not think that it is much of what you do day to day has a huge effect on you. Okay. So if you are around someone that's constantly complaining, I encourage you to find a way and detect whether or not they are a healthy complainer, as in they complaining, they just need an ear. Like, can you listen to them? Or they just complaining just to suck the energy out of you because they just need somebody. And I don't want it to be you. Or like I said, if you are one of those people that's constantly complaining, what is something that you can do for yourself right now where you can find a solution so that you don't find yourself back in the same situation that you once were? Because part of life is moving forward. And if you're always being pulled back to the same type of situations that you basically getting you there in the first place. It's like, what are you going to do to solve that problem? And the one of the great things about doing that is when you're able to start asking yourself what kind of solutions I could do, or what's a solution over here, you tend to be more of a problem solver. And people that solves problems the best are the ones that succeeds the best. So if you're watching this and you feel stuck and you're like, damn, I don't know, I can't find a way out, well, here's your way out. That's absolutely true. Instead of focusing on what the problem is, focus on how the problem, how to solve the problem, and how to make your problem ever appear again. Yeah, exactly. And so I used to be that guy. I'm gonna tell you straight up. I used to be that guy that complains all the time. And I'm talking about a chronic complainer. Now, because I was a chronic complainer in the beginning, my earlier days, I feel like I still have some sort of residual complaining back into me, where it does come up. But one thing that I've noticed that I've started doing is I have a really good friend, and his name is Justin. And every now and then I'll be like, hey, yo, Justin, I need to talk to you about something. And he was like, yo, homie, what's up? And I was like, yo, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but then hear me out, man. I'm trying to find a way. At this point, I just need an ear, man. I need an ear. Yes, Justin. I was like, I need an ear. Can you? He's like, yo, what's up? So I'm like, yo, this is what happened. I feel like a bitch just complaining, but I just need you right now. I need it. It's here. It's here. I need it out. He's like, yeah, go ahead, man. I'm here. I was like, yo, and then after I'm done, I'm like, yo, this is dope. I feel a lot better. But I was like, not only do I feel a lot better, I know what actions I need to take. I know these are the actions that I need to do. And these actions that I'm going to do, it's going to take more time. And that's something that I have to learn to live with. Yeah, I just need an ear. And it happens. And don't get me wrong. Like, I have a girl. And trust me, I want to vent to her all the time. But sometimes I have to learn to separate that, because I am supposed to be the leader. Now, if I'm always constantly going back to her, constantly complaining, and it's almost sounds like it's like, okay, Mitchell is just complaint after complaint. It's like, that is why it is so important to have a good friend you could confide in, basically. Like Justin, it takes a strong person to confide in someone you not only trust, but they will tell you the truth and not want. Yeah, absolutely. And and just remember that not all close friends that you have care about your problems. Just because they're your close friend doesn't mean that they care about your problem. I have a good friend that I will bring up certain topics, and immediately he will try to say, do this, do that, do this, do that. And I'm like, yo, I understand. I need an ear, but I understand if you can't provide that, then that just tells me that I just need to confide it in somebody else. And that's okay. That doesn't bother me. I just thought it was an option, and I must have misread that. You know what I mean? And so you have to learn and to not take that personal too, because just because you feel like they're your good friends, that it doesn't mean that they have to listen to you. You have to understand that. And so I had to learn to differentiate that not all good friends are there to listen to your problems. Not all great friends are there to and when you have someone that you could confide in, you want to keep these people close to you too, because these are the people that actually care about you, and that's willing to give you that truth, whether or not it's going to hurt you. But of course, they're not just saying it just to hurt you. They're gonna phrase it in some way where it's like, yo, I think it sounds like this is what you would need to do in order to get the situation out of your system, basically. And I'm truly blessed to have a good friend like that. And Justin, if you're out there, appreciate you. One of my good best friends, when I tell her my situation, she quickly switched that problem about herself. So I had to learn she is not the one. I know exactly what you're talking about. And these are the people that you just have to be careful. It's like, and you know what's the funny part is Superwoman, right? You know what's the funny thing about that is most of the time, especially in this whole emotional state, when you're expressing your emotions about why it's bothering you and they immediately put it back on themselves, I don't even think that's their intention to put it on themselves. It's just that they're just unaware about your problems as much. And it's very easy in that moment to take it very personal. It is very, very, especially in this emotional tension that you had, that you're trying to express, that you're trying to hope that that person lends that ear to you, and they switch that to themselves and they want your ear. It's easy to take that personal. But what you did was amazing, is that you took a step back and you realized that that is not the right person to do it. And by not taking it personal, it no longer becomes about you, but you actually have a stronger sense of empathy and realization that it is for the other. It's, you realize that, hey, that is not the right person, and that's okay, because not everybody deserves to hear some of my stories. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important. That's very important to separate. And even though this whole topic was about complaining, and today was interesting enough, where I was driving, I was on the phone with my girl, and she heard it all. She was like, why is everyone honking? Why is doing this? Why is that person yelling at you? And I was like, so there are two things. Okay, there's two things. And it's all because I made one wrong turn. And if you know anything about San Francisco, is that if you make one wrong turn, it might take you blocks and blocks of like, hey, there's a one way, you can't turn there, no turn on this, and it's like you got to make this big U-ey, it's all around the block. So I missed one wrong turn, and it costed me about 15 to 20 minutes of traffic. So I was like, damn, but I was like, luckily I'm not in a rush, so it's okay. In like downtown LA. So I realized I messed up. I fucked up. I was like, oh shit, I missed the wrong turn. God damn it, Mitchell. Again. And so as I was like, all right, well, I just gotta, that's my fault. And so now as I'm going through this alleyway, some guys double parked, and I had to move around. I moved around. And so when you move around a car, obviously your car's kind of like this, and he's pretty close to the stop sign, right? And so my car was kind of like pulled right here, and I had to go and turn to left. And there's this guy, he was here, and he had to make a turn in, but my car was like this, so my butt was sticking out a little bit. And I was like, well, either you let me through, or you got to reverse a little bit. Something has to happen in order for us not to crash into each other, right? And he turns, and I'm like trying to inch, and he's yelling at me, like, move. And I just said, what if I really don't feel like moving because you're yelling? And he started getting even more mad, and I was like, look, I got time. It sounds like you don't have a lot of time. So yeah, he moved, he got what he wanted, it's fine, no one got hurt. And then what happened next? Shit, I'm blanking out. Okay, what was the second one? There was a second one. There was a turn. Why is this happening to me right now? On live. Well, anyways. What was that other one? Oh, yeah, there was this girl. Okay, yeah, there was this girl. Yeah, my girl loves me. I love her too. And so, what was this other? Oh yeah, so there's this lady. I was driving, and we were pulled in like this. We had to stagger in to get in, right? And she was like moving. And there's a lot of space on the right. So the right lane was a turning lane. And I was able to I was like, I just need to get down there and turn and get the hell out. And so what ended up happening was, as I was moving up forward, she was moving up forward, and I just said, "Hey, excuse me, I want to talk to her." But people under traffic, they feel very stressed, and so I was like, "Excuse me," I was like, "Would you mind if I just go in front of you and then like go over to that lane because I need a turn?" And obviously, while I was saying all this, her window's up, so she's like giving me a lot of hand gestures. And so I was like, I'm just asking if I could go over to the right lane, but if you keep inching forward, I'm not able to move. Like, either you go in front of me or I have to go in front of you. But if you allow me, that would be great, and I could just go through. And then she was doing all these signs, and I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you look flustered and you sound upset. And I was like, you don't have to be upset. I'm just asking if I could go over to the right. And funny enough, she didn't hear anything I said. And then we ended up going to the same way anyways. And I was like, she could have done that turn. But anyways, it was funny. I was like, well, luckily, like I said, behind anger is always fear. And the fear of not being able to you have to just figure out why you're upset. And anytime, so here's a great thing too. Anytime I do get upset, I like to figure out what I'm afraid of. Because that is how you overcome your challenges. And if you could overcome your fears constantly, you will only end up becoming a better person. And so that's why I encourage you guys, like, if you find yourself complaining, and not only when you're complaining, but you aggressively complaining and you start getting emotional and upset about it, behind anger is always fear. So there's something in your shadows that you have to figure out. And so I know it got a little dark, but anyways, that is the Express episode. It's a little bit over 30 minutes right now. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys on this Saturday's. And this Saturday's live is going to be one of my last lives for about this month, I would say, about this month. But that being said, Bree, thank you for always showing up. Superwoman, I see you. Who else is here? Is Tammy still here? She probably dipped out. I'm not sure. But anyways, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be visiting my girl, and we're gonna be spending Thanksgiving over there. So I wouldn't be able to, do all that. Yo, what's up, Simon? Yeah, and I had to go over to my homie's house to eat right now. So I'll see you there. All right. Oh, good. I'll message you. All right, Bree. Take it easy, Simon. I see you in a